Joining me today is our friends, rather, from Skyhawk Telematics and TELUS Business. Skyhawk is a division of TELUS Business, was purchased by TELUS, I believe, last year, and Mark and Stephen will certainly explain that. Skyhawk Telematics are very clearly an experienced provider of advanced fleet telematics solutions for governments, public works departments, various winter operations, and all kinds of power utility sectors throughout North America. Joining me this morning is Mark Gillingham. Mark is the Vice President of Skyhawk Telematics. Along with Mark is Stephen Caron. Stephen is the Senior IoT Specialist with TELUS Business. Both of them are joining us today to deliver this presentation and to show you how GPS, AVL, and the services at Skyhawk Telematics can support your community. So Mark, without any further ado, I'm going to hand things over to you, and you can introduce the team and go through your presentation.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Brad. I appreciate the opportunity. Hi to everyone else. I think this is also being recorded. Is that right, Brad? Are we going to, so we can circulate this after if there's any other questions? And if there's anything that's discussed during the presentation here today, we'll certainly, any additional information or offline questions we can follow up with as well. What we're going to do today is give you an overview of our fleet telematics solution, talk a little bit about what that means for you, and also just to get right into some of the value bundles. And we're actually going to provide you with some pricing overviews on some of the solutions today, so you can really get a clean understanding of what that means, where you are kind of price point wise, and some of the things we've been doing. Skyhawk has been in the fleet telematics business for quite a few years now. We have clients not only across Canada, coast to coast, but through the US as well, very prominent organizations. And, from, the New Hampshire DOT, City of Pittsburgh, so some prominent organizations again throughout Canada, as well as lots of municipalities here in Newfoundland and Labrador that we've dealt with and are very proud to have as our clients in our backyard. Being a Newfoundland Labrador based company to begin with, we certainly like to make sure that we focus on our own backyard and our clients here as well. Stephen, do you want to take before I just jump into the presentation, do you want to take a quick second to also introduce TELUS?
Absolutely, Mark. So my name is Stephen. I'm the Senior IoT Specialist for Atlantic Canada, and work very closely with partners such as Skyhawk. And I've seen most of you, or I've been around the island many times now, and we will definitely be seeing more of each other as we progress towards the IoT needs and develop the IoT portfolio across Newfoundland. So pleasure to be here this morning, Mark.
Excellent. So can everyone see my screen at this point?
Yep, good to go.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So we're going to jump right in here, and just a general tracking. So for anyone who's may not be familiar with the term kind of fleet telematics, it's basically automated vehicle location tracking, GPS vehicle tracking. They're kind of interchangeable terms that can be used. Typically these days, it refers to a hosted or web-based solution where you don't actually need to install any software on your computers or throughout your user group. And that certainly would be true for Skyhawk as well. We're hosted in a leading Amazon Web Services AWS facility. We have our servers in Canada for our Canadian clients, so your data is hosted in country of residence, and the same for our US clients. With that, you get the hardware and the trackers that actually connect to your vehicles, along with any sensors that may be applicable. So for things like if you're dealing with winter operations vehicles, you want to know if the plow blade is up or down. You want to tie into your ground speed spreader controllers, understand exactly how much material is coming off of those. And with that whole solution, we also obviously take care of all of your data plans and other things like, in Newfoundland, and not only that, throughout Canada. We have a lot of clients who operate in, pretty harsh environments, and also in areas where you may not have full cellular coverage all the time. So the ability to provide a satellite redundant backup, so you can understand where those vehicles are located, just for safety and in emergency instances. We have those complementary features as well. And everything is, all the information is sent directly to the cloud service in a real-time format, so you can see in live format, the vehicles moving around your screen, the status of them operating, whether again the plow blade is up or down, if it's a street sweeper, whether the brooms are in operation, same for waste vehicles, and so on and so forth. We also provide things like camera solutions for dash cams, which are becoming more popular, even just to understand what's happening out the front of the vehicle. We understand that there's sensitivity from an in-cab perspective sometimes, but those are all kind of standard offerings that we provide. A mobile app that where you can actually see your vehicles if you want to just access it through an iPhone or an Android device. Those are all standard as part of the offering. From a what do we track perspective, we really have the ability to track all the different types of vehicles and specialty vehicles, and also your high valued assets. And as you'll see here, so it's not just kind of your public works type equipment, but obviously light duty vehicles, your standard cars and trucks, yellow iron heavy equipment, and then trailers, and then other types of equipment. So because we deal with clients who have EMS or healthcare, you're seeing things like the ability to monitor stretchers, which again may not be a big thing for some clients, but certainly things like snowmobiles and ATVs and solar signboards, that are basically a couple of deep cycle batteries hooked up to a hitch on a set of wheels. They sometimes grow legs and walk away when they're left on the side of the highway. They make great power systems for cabins and cottages. So the ability to kind of track where they are, if they're in operation, and what they're doing, we really have the ability to allow you to kind of start small, even if you start with your light duty vehicles or some of your specialty vehicles, and then really expand and grow into your whole fleet. And then, we do things like, various types of trailers and flat deck trailers, whereby you can get to see it if it's in the yard. It can report in once a day, just so you know it's there, and whether it's moving or not. If it moves without being connected to a vehicle or to a power system, you can get an alert saying that it's actually left the yard. And otherwise, the instant that it's connected legitimately to a vehicle, you get a real-time format and understand exactly total distance traveled, hours on the actual unit, and that helps out with maintenance considerations as well, to understand how much travel distance and time is put on a particular trailer or another piece of equipment, so that you can get a feel for tire wear and regular maintenance routines. So with these types of bundles, we've got 3 bundles that we put together to make it really easy for our potential client base to consume. And so the basic tracker is a ECM, so that means it plugs into the engine control module, the OBD2 port on your light duty vehicles, gives you real-time functionality, detailed GPS positioning, your ECM data, also has the ability to do a driver ID or tie into an input. So even if you have a kind of a light duty truck with a plow onto it, you can still, with this tracker, you can still track that one input, get a driver ID, and do all of that for $20 a month. There's an extra buck or two depending on if you want to convert it to a heavy duty J1939 cable or have an extension cable for the light duty fee. This includes everything that you need to run your system and an unlimited number of user accounts in the software for your staff. So you basically, the fee is on a per vehicle or per unit or per asset basis per month. And you know, with that, there comes an unlimited number of users to the system. So it would provide over a 36-month term. Again, you'd have no upfront costs. There'd be all the hardware, the monitoring software, the cellular data plan, and support and training services that would go along with kind of making sure you got up and running properly for all of your light duty vehicles. On the advanced tracker side, here's where you look at doing for things like your more heavy duty vehicles, if you wanted to move and have Wi-Fi inside the vehicles. With this, it's important to note that if you're connecting to a spreader controller or something along that lines in the vehicle, there is a specialized cable depending on what version of that spreader controller that would be an extra here. But everything else, with regard to the fact that it supports Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and up to 8 inputs. So you can track, again, your beacon light, front, side plow, belly plow if you wanted, and a host of other things. So there's lots of inputs, there's lots of capability with the advanced tracker solution. And because it has Wi-Fi, you can offer the ability to use, in-vehicle tablets and devices that can then be maybe you want to give your workers the ability to connect to the back office environment from the truck to look at a work order, or just to be able to access the internet in general. That can all be done with various data plan sizes through the vehicle and through this unit. Larger data plans, other than the one quoted for this, would be an extra, but the data plan associated with this particular bundle would cover all of the the inputs and standard vehicle tracking data that you'd require. Again, a couple of months free, along with inside of a 36-month term, with all of the things that you would need to track. If you want to add satellite backup to that unit, there is a charge for that of an extra $30 a month, and you can add it directly to this unit. So you have both cellular tracking, which gives you your detailed information, every 10 or 15 seconds, every 15 degrees turn of radius, every time an input changes on the device. So you get that very precise time and location information. And again, you can add and kind of build onto this system as you'd like going forward. From the asset tracker perspective, we've got a few different options. Depending on what it is that you're looking to track, we have standalone battery operated devices that would be hard powered and kind of wired to the particular unit, and then combination devices that can have a long battery life, but also can also be hardwired. And I'll explain these kind of in sequence here. All of the devices are rugged, waterproof, and you can have them outside in harsh conditions, which a lot of these these assets require. For the hardwired and the hardwired plus battery, there's also digital inputs that you can tie into if you wanted to understand when sensors or other events were being triggered. And again, the whole package, there's no upfront cost. It all comes as part of a monthly supported bundle. For the battery powered asset tracker, typically, these can last multiple years now. They're LTE-M devices, which means that they're specifically designed for the latest LTE network, but the machine version of that spectrum. That's what the M stands for. And it's a very low powered piece of the cellular spectrum that gives these units the ability to stay in field for multiple years. They do have AA replaceable batteries and notifications of when you get low battery warnings from them. If you have a piece of equipment that is non-powered and you just want to know where it is, a couple times a day type thing, it can also have a programming configuration on the unit that if it moves you can then update the frequency of reporting to, you know, every 20 or 30 minutes, so that if for some reason it moves and it's not supposed to, you know, you can get a fairly good track of where it is, and then get that information, you know, when it gets to wherever it is it's being moved. The middle tracker is a great tracker for things like, you know, larger mower decks, small pieces of tracking equipment, even snowmobiles, ATV units, those types of things, where again, you know, you actually have to start them and turn them on. Once you do, the tracker comes on, you get the ignition, you get all your runtime, and it'll track those units, even if they go outside of cellular coverage. So it's important to note that with all of these, they'll actually keep a running log of where they've been. And if they do go outside of cellular coverage, the units store all those positional and timestamp information on the actual unit. And then when it comes back into coverage, it'll offload all that information sequentially. So it goes into the system in a right format. And then the final one, we have it labeled as a trailer tracker just because it really suits that, that application very well. It has a high or long life battery into it, but also has the ability to hardwire into a wiring harness on a trailer or other type of device. So if you have a piece of equipment that sometimes sits in a given location for extended periods without being used or moved, this certainly is a great device for that. It can, you know, operate on a battery only mode again for a period of several years, reporting once or twice a day. If it's moved without being powered, it can update that reporting frequency again to every 20 or 30 minutes, depending on what you're looking for. But then the instant that the piece of equipment is actually turned on, so maybe it's a large generator, maybe it's a trailer, you know, when it's actually plugged into a wiring harness, it can power the device. It recharges the battery into it at that point, and you get that very detailed path of movement. Again, that 15-second, 15-degree turn of radius, ignition on off, you know, recording of all those data elements. So, you know, with the hardware included over a 3-year term, again, with us providing a couple of months of free service to get you out of the gate, you know, here's you know, when you add those 3 bundles together, it really gives you the ability to track pretty much everything in your fleet in 3 standard, straightforward bundles that we feel are very cost effective, and at the end of the day, provide great value and return on investment for our clients. So that's a pretty brief and to the point, I think, presentation today. I just wanted to give some time to ensure that we could answer any questions. If you have any questions or require any information, you can reach us at the information provided, obviously, at our website, skyhawktelematics.com. sales@skyhawktelematics.com is our direct email address, and our toll-free number there as well. And if you would like, I can also give you my and Stephen Threck's contact information, or you can get it straight from Bradley as well. So Bradley, I'll turn it back to you and see if there's any questions or any other information you'd like us to cover here today.
That's great. Thank you, Mark. This, you know, for M&L members, this is really a great solution, simply because we have communities that have very limited staff, and by extension of that, very limited ability to track other staff and track equipment and so on. I'm actually a councillor in the town of Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, and Skyhawk was engaged by our municipality, my goodness, over 5-6 years ago, I believe, to put AVL and GPSs in our public works vehicles, and of course also on the contracted snowplows that we utilize throughout the community. Now, unfortunate for my community, but fortunate for those who look to sign on for the service now, things have certainly expanded, and there's more offerings now than there's ever been, and more potential supports for municipalities than there have ever been within this technology. So I really found that very informative, Mark, and some great information that I know I'll certainly take back to my own community. But I do note a couple of the attendees that are on here today live in remote areas. And of course, smaller communities in remote areas. And you did reference in your presentation about the satellite capability for tracking and so on. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that and explain, maybe give an example of where it's been used as well?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, it's used in what I'd call a redundant or kind of a dual mode scenario. So what ends up happening is that, even for remote communities, a lot of them have some coverage. Maybe it's back at, you might need to get back to the actual depot where you keep your equipment, or, at somewhere. So having the cellular tracker in there gives you the ability to track what I'll call the rich data features, the engine data, your very precise positioning information. Again, we have what we think is a Goldilocks type of a tracking profile that gives you, your ignition on and off every 15 degrees, or every 15 seconds of tracking, every 15 degrees turn of radius. So you're not cutting corners or small streets, you're getting all of that detail. And then anytime an input is triggered, and it's really important on those tracking profiles to understand, where the plow blade or where the service started. So the plow blades get dropped in front of or before you enter the intersection, or before you cross the bridge, if there is one, rather than on the other side. So the instant that input is triggered, we collect that. So all of that's done through the cellular side. But where the satellite piece comes in is that when you go out of cellular coverage, that's when the satellite device kicks in. And we all know what our Newfoundland and Canadian winters are like here, and the job that a lot of our workers have to do in plowing and maintaining the roadways. They're out in the middle of the night in the worst conditions, and so understanding where they are. So the satellite unit would then kind of kick in when you're outside of cellular coverage, and it would give you an update every 10 or 15 minutes. So it's not intended to replace the cellular data and all of that. If you had to send all of that over a satellite link, it would probably be prohibitively expensive. But the ability then to understand where that unit is, again, every 10 or 15 minutes when it's out of coverage, you can get that kind of quasi real-time positioning on a map, have a good feeling for where the vehicle or the drivers are, if they're still moving. And then, when they get back into cellular coverage, all the what I'll call the rich data that's being captured by the cellular device gets offloaded, and you get to see, that detailed information. So that's really how the cellular plus satellite piece kind of works in conjunction with each other.
Excellent. And again, more important in rural communities throughout the province, of course, where cell phone service is certainly lacking. And we hope in the years ahead that will change. But in the meantime, there clearly is a redundancy and a backup for your services, which is really, really important. One other thing, and this was from our own experience in Logie Bay, Middle Cove, was the cost savings that go along with implementing this type of a technology. And you've alluded to some of it in particular, the wear and tear on vehicles and inappropriate usage, and even in some cases, potential theft when it comes to, say, salt and sand, as an example. Can you elaborate a little bit on how it all works in that regard? Maybe if you could talk about the actual monitoring of the equipment and elaborate on that a little bit, please.
Yeah, for sure. So there's no doubt that for anyone who runs a municipal operation, specifically just dealing with material usage, it's one of the highest cost items that you have within your budget when you're dealing with salt and sand. And there's a couple of things that you want to do. And again, I'd refer to the ability of kind of wanting to be in that Goldilocks zone, because when you're salting or sanding the roads, if you're not putting enough, then there's public safety concerns and you're getting complaints about the quality and the status of the roads. But you also don't want to get into a situation where you're putting away more than you should or what's necessary, because for anyone who's familiar with how salt works, the colder it gets, putting more salt on the road doesn't fix the problem, right? That there's a sweet spot there where you need to be. So we have the ability to tie in and connect directly to the spreader controllers or the ground speed controllers that tell you how much material is going out. And so we'll give you what the set rate is of that vehicle, what the actual amounts are, and then obviously what all your totals are. The important part, we actually had a municipality here in Newfoundland, and not far from where I am actually, that had an issue, 2 years ago, whereby there was a changing in some management, and they came back and they said, Mark, what's happening here? We're using twice the amount of material that we were just the previous year before. And so we went in and helped them to do some analysis and run some reports. And basically what we found is that, the set rates had gone on their vehicles from 250 kgs per kilometer up to 450. So the drivers, and again, these things happen, were, had kind of cranked up the amount of material that was getting put out on the roads. And all of a sudden they're putting out twice the amount of material. And we were able to go in and show them where those set rates were, exactly what routes, which vehicles were doing it, and when, and with some very, I'll call straightforward and conversations with some of their staff, they were able to correct that problem, get it back under control, and by cutting the amount of material that was going out the door in half, they obviously cut their costs in half as well for that piece. The thing that we've done even in the last bit to even really expand that piece of functionality is now we visualize this on a live map overlay. So based on what service level agreement you want to have with for your organization, you can actually put in the set rates of where you want to have. So basically, if you want to be between 150 kgs per kilometer and 250 kgs per kilometer, you can put those set rates in and then watch it in a color coordinated way on your map, so that if you're below 150, it shows up in one color. If you're in, again, that Goldilocks band of where you want to be, it shows up in another color. And then when you're outside and you're high on what your set rates can be, you can see it visually on a map, and it's color coded for you in real time as the vehicles. And we also obviously capture blast events too as well, so you can see how much blasting is taking place. So without having to get into any detailed reports or analytics, just by looking at the colors on the screen, you can get a really, really good picture of if you're operating in the bands that you're supposed to be, if someone's blasting in too much or in areas, or if they've got that controller cranked up and they're pushing out more material than you'd like them to.
Well, that's excellent. And of course, monitoring our costs, related to probably one of the most expensive municipal services that we all employ, is extremely important. And Mark, you make a really good point about being able to track the material, going in and out of the trucks. And we've heard other examples, all throughout the province, similar to what you just noted, that there was an increased usage. In some cases, it turned out to be theft, but in other cases, it just turned out to be improper operation of the equipment. And your service will certainly help a municipality curb those costs or the increase in costs, and make sure that we track the equipment properly. One other thing from an elected official perspective, as a councillor, I'm always really happy to be able to log into our system and see where the snow plows are actually plowing. And as an elected official, we get countless phone calls during snowstorms and before and after snowstorms, before, after, and during. And people wondering, I haven't seen the plow in 4 hours. Where is it to? Is it coming soon? I've got to go to work, and so on. In my community, with the contractual snow clearing operator that we had, it was extremely important that individual councillors not make contact with that supplier or with that company, because then that would take them off their normal protocols and normal routes. So we employed the mapping system that you guys offer and gave it to our councillors and staff and said, if you want to see where a plow is, log in here and you can see it. And in fact, you can even get details about that piece of equipment, such as the speed, the direction it's going, and so on. So that is an excellent support for individuals like myself who receive those phone calls and can confidently say to a resident, the snowplow is on the top of your road, it'll be there in a matter of minutes, or it went by 2 hours ago, it's not expected for another 2 more hours, or so on. So that's
Absolutely.
something that we find of great value.
And we certainly, you know, the ability to have as many accounts as you want, so you can literally give them to every member of your organization if you want to choose to do so. There's no additional cost to that. And so the way, you know, if you have 10 vehicles or 50 vehicles or 100 vehicles, again, the number of user accounts, there's no difference. So you can provide those to as many people as you want. The other part of the service that we do provide, though, with regard to kind of helping to mitigate, calls and inquiries from the public, is that we also do provide a service of a public website. And the public website allows organizations or allows the general public to log in and see the status of the winter fleet. We do have some very unique controls inside of that, because you don't just want the public to necessarily see when a vehicle is what we call deadheading or just traveling from one point to another. These guys are hardworking people as well. If they stop and grab a coffee, you don't necessarily want to see them stopped on the map at the local coffee shop. So what we do with our public site is that we have the ability to, if the vehicle stops, the icon disappears from the map. And the organization or the municipality can control these features via some very straightforward settings. And you can also do things like only have the vehicle show on the map if it's plowing or if it's spreading, so that you're only showing when you're providing service and all other events are not visible to the public. You can also time delay the vehicle. So maybe you don't want it to show up in real time, but you want to delay it for 5 or 10 or minutes or whatever that looks like. So there's some unique controls there, so that you're basically showing the public kind of what you need them to see when you're doing work, when you're providing service, but you're also not creating problems for the organization and kind of giving additional or unwarranted information about where vehicles are stopping, where they're traveling to, and when they may be, just doing things other than providing a kind of winter operations, waste clearing, or street sweeping activities, things of that nature.
That's a very excellent point. Privacy of the public and staff is extremely important. So, great point. Gentlemen, that's all the questions I have. I don't see any additional coming in from the viewers, but I'd like to thank you both today for being here with us. It's a great honor to actually have you guys participate in this first webinar and first demo. We'd certainly look forward to doing more of these as time goes on. Would certainly also love to hear from some of our municipalities. So if there's anyone watching here today that currently utilizes Skyhawk Telematics, please reach out to us. We'd love to share your testimonials with our other members. And of course, we're very happy to be partnered with TELUS Business, Stephen and his entire team. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the lead in that regard, Jackie DuPont, who's well known to all of us. Jackie does an excellent job in pushing all the various services and programs and solutions that are available. She was very excited, Mark, to highlight the fact that Skyhawk was now a member of the TELUS team. And we're very excited for that too, because I truly see some excellent cost savings and efficiencies that can be found for our members through your service. So I really hope people learned a lot about it today, and I hope they reach out. To that end, by all means, reach out to myself or Mark directly, or Stephen. All three of us are available. Stephen is actually the individual you should reach out to if you have any other want to pursue any of the other programs under TELUS Business, in particular Internet of Things. And we have a referral program in place, so be sure to let us know when you're reaching out. And I don't see any additional questions, so we'll end it there. Thank you, Mark, very much. Great to interact with you, and I have no doubt that you'll have some outreach from our members. We will follow up on this webinar with your presentation to those that registered, but we'll also post it on our website. And hopefully in the very near future, maybe early in the new year, we can come together again and highlight some of the great successes that municipalities are having throughout the province with the use of this technology. So thank you both again, and have a great day, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bradley. Thanks, everyone. And I guess as a final note, if anyone would like to, see a live demo of the solution, and that doesn't cost you anything, we can take some time, and with Zoom or an online conference these days, we can take you in and give you a walkthrough of the actual software and all the functionality. And we can do that on an individual case-by-case basis if someone so chooses. So, Bradley, thank you very much for organizing today. We appreciate the opportunity.
Sounds good. Take care, folks.
Thank you. Yep.
See you.